So, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our um, fourth session of this 1 month internship program, which is a project based internship in AI in predictive medicine, AI in clinical research, and AI in pharmacovigilance. Uh, Yesterday, we discussed about large language models. Just one second, I'm just. Can you hear me? Can you just someone tell me that my voice is clear? Uh, okay, so thank you, Priti, and thank you, Solef Academy team, for confirming that the voice is fine. So, as mentioned, that today will be discussing about the large language model from the AI. We discuss about generative AI, and today we will be discussing about the uh, RAG, that is the retrieval augmenting model of the AI, generative AI, and we will be discussing about the agentic AI. So I'm just sharing my slides. Okay, so I hope that you can see my presentation. So today we will be discussing about the RAG and the agentic AI in the healthcare, where um, how these models are actually helping in drug discovery, clinical research, and future medicine will be discussed, and we will understand the fundamentals of this model and how they are useful in your project-based program. So these are the things which we will be exploring today. That is the foundation. We will be understanding the RAG and the agentic AI, then its application in the real world, then the measurable outcome, which are important, and we are continuously talking about it, the governance and the safety, and where this field is moving at the moment. Let's continue presentation. Okay, so now can you see the presentation? Okay, so in today's session, this is what we will be looking at in different um models, that is the RAG and the agentic the foundation, its application in the real world that is relevant to drug discovery and the healthcare, which we are working with on the project on, and the impact and the risk, which is important, and we are continuously talking about it from the day one because it is very important part to be understand when you are working with AI in healthcare and in the drug discovery and the road ahead which are there due to all this model. So in the foundation, we need to understand that when we are deploying the AI, we need to understand that there are different types of model and how they work. So reasoning on the scientific knowledge is important, and then the expertise of our work should be utilized there. So what is RAG? RAG is the retrieval augmented generation model of large language models, which actually gives you the external sources rather than relying only on the generative part of the trained data. So if you have you know seen that when we discuss about large language model, we talked about the predictive and the generation of the content. So the large language models are trained on the numbers of text data, which we discussed yesterday, and based on that, it actually gives you the content which can be predictive or generative based on the the word which you are using. So the prompt which you are using. But in case of the RAG, it actually makes sure that the external source is also utilized while giving the information. So retrieval of the relevant documentation at the query time is done. So we actually get the references. So if you look at the perplexity model, or if you look at the deep research model of the Gemini or even the Chat GPT, you get the references which are actually part of this RAG model. You need to utilize it by verifying that the evidences which has been given are actually there. So in the augmented model, about 99% of the references are from the genuine sources, but still there might be some of the references like from the blogs website which you need to go and check, because sometimes the website change their content and that time the content is not there. So RAG model is actually useful because it reduces the hallucination, it reduces the generative references created by the large language models. So it works in such a way that it plays the relevant documents which are there in the public domain. It inject the retrieved context in the prompt, and then it generate the information which is evidence based answer. So it's not only giving you the sorry. So it's not only giving you the content which is generated, but simultaneously it is making sure it retrieve the information from the public domain, which is specific to that domain, and then it actually give you the content which is cited with the references. So this is how it works. So it is transforming the general model into more specific one by giving you the cited sources. And what is the agentic AI then? So with the RAG, you are actually getting the information. With the agentic AI, it actually is the step forward where it autonomously plan your the prompt, and then it act on it, and based on the content it then adopt, or if there is a need it can again actually go back and get the content. So it is not just you give the prompt and you receive the answer, but it makes sure that it is autonomously planning, acting, and adapting towards the defined goal. So if I give a defined goal to agentic AI, it is going to do that. So let's say, for example, I want to actually understand that how DNA damage response pathway in a disease works and how the molecules are actually targeting that pathway. Now this model is going to do the literature review of DNA damage and the molecule. It is going to remove out the pathway, the specific genes, and it is going to give me the clear answer that will be a very complex when we actually just go with the normal generative AI or the RAG, because with the RAG also you are just getting the content with the references. You still need to understand it and take it further. With agentic AI, you can actually put things in the agent which can be useful as a document, which will be enough for us to take it further. So I, in the second lecture, I showed you, the one of the tool which we have developed, that is the agentic AI, which actually have total 11 agent and they are doing their role. I will show you at the end again that how that works. And we also have the LLM created for Solve Life for specific work which we want to do, and I will show you that as well. So they actually make sure that the complex objective task can be simple down. Yes, you still need to have the expertise supervision in there, because the further steps has to be taken by the human. So that's why that is there. It calls the tools, the database, and the API. So in this case, you will need a API because you are working outside the LLMs, but you still need to have the tokens from the LLM. So for that purpose, you need to have API taken from directly from the large language model in certain, if you are using certain, or you can go for open router where the token key can be taken, and you can use any large language model in that case. So it reflect on the result and self correction. So it is not just giving you the information, but it makes sure the results which you got, it get understand that, and it also correct itself by adopting the pattern. So the agentic AI is a loop where it plans, then it act, and once it act, it also observe the content which it got, and then it reflects. So it is like instead of like a single prompt and the response, it is making sure that the loop is followed. So reasoning, execution, and improving loop is follow, and based on that you get the result. So it's not like you ask the question and you will get the answer. Yes, you will get the answer, but it will be the improvised version of the content which is expected from the agent. So when we look at RAG and the agentic AI, they are not competing with each other, but they are actually giving you, uh, they are acting together as a complementary, and they are supplying you the trustworthy knowledge. Where agents supply autonomously action, RAG supply the knowledge. So together they form the backbone of the modern scientific AI system, because with the RAG, you are getting the live, the literature, the articles, and with the agentic AI, you can actually have that into a structural format, and simultaneously you can create the agent which can actually useful for doing lot of other things like sorting the data, putting them in the structural format, making a dashboard, and even creating hypothesis and also the layout of the the project. So that's where the agentic AI comes with the clinical research also. The protocol designing can be done with the agentic AI. So why this LLMs like agentic or RAG or even the generative in a talk, and why they are being so useful now? Because if you see the data is now, lot of data is available. It can be from clinical or with the chemistry wise from the molecule, or even with the preclinical data which is available in machine learning, machine reading format. So that's why first step, which is important when we are looking at the AI, is the data that is available. Then the models are now having those capacity where they can actually, utilize the reasoning uh, in the biology, chemistry, and also with the literature. And also the governance have started taking steps, so that way using AI is useful for companies, because the governance tools and the governance involvement has actually uh, you know um, taking steps so that way the company can actually make sure that they can involve all this into their research and into their product development. So where are the application when we look from the drug discovery point of view? We have, as a Swallife Biotech, we have used AI from target identification till clinical trial designing, and it helps in all steps of the discovery and development. Not all complete step, but there are some steps in each areas which can be utilized. So when we look to the drug discovery pipeline from target identification till completion of the preclinical testing, because in preclinical testing also you can design the protocol, you can understand that what type of the parameters can actually be evaluated in the small animals or even the animals which are needed for that specific disease study. So that can be done by generative AI and also with the agentic AI. So it is accelerating the each stage of the discovery, giving us insights from millions of paper and simultaneously helping in designing the complex experimental workflow. So, till preclinical clinical studies in the discovery pipeline, it is very useful. When we look at some of the cases, that is the target identification or molecule or in the clinical, with the the retrieval augmenting model, you can actually mine the genomic databases, scientific literature, or even the clinical record. So that way you can synthesize different information from thousands of studies. You can identify the gap. You can flag the novelty between the disease and the gene association. You can even have the citation which can support the information, the sources with the help of the RAG. So, with the initial process of target identification, which is the first part of the drug discovery, AI model of the RAG is very useful. And when you connect that RAG model with the agentic one, it is going to give you the speed, which we will be mentioning in later slide, that how much faster now it has been become from target identification to move into the clinical studies. Then the second step, that is the molecule designing. It can be molecule isolation. It can be identifying the candidate also. So all this with the agentic AI or with the RAG, it has been even with the generative AI, you can actually develop or predict the candidate compound, predict their properties. So that way you can refine the designing. So as mentioned yesterday, that in silico study was already there, but with the AI now, you can actually have the information about their properties, where you can also think that what type of modification can be done in the molecule, so that way it can be actually useful in the synthesis and even can went into the preclinical clinical study. So agent can integrate with the uh, looking at the properties, but simultaneously, as I mentioned when we started this internship program, that we last month in April, um, not in May, yeah, in May, first week of May, actually we had a, conference where, sorry, not conference. We started a journal club where we actually have a robot called Amy from UK. She has been connected with the large language model and she works similar to the large language. So robots can be integrated with the agent and they can actually design. So even in the lab robot also they can actually design the the molecules while doing the synthesis. They can do that. With the pharma company, there were already autonomous tools available which were performing the experiment. But now with the agentic AI, you can actually have the robot which can synthesize the molecules as well. So as I mentioned, that adopting this actually have accelerated the drug discovery life cycle. If you look how faster it has become, 40% of the time has been reduced now. So normally 3 to 5 years of the basic drug discovery till preclinical time was there. which has been now reduced to about 2 years or even less than 2 years, because a lot of the process of target identification molecular designing has been reduced due to the literature scanning process, and also having that hypothesis developed very fast. It has already started changing the time period of the drug discovery. And so, how are the application in clinical care? So, in the clinical research, it can be useful in the decision support where the RAG system can give the clinician instant evidence ground answers, because it is connecting to the live literature. So, the literature which actually the clinician or the doctor was reading manually or have to search on the databases can be now given by the large language model tools to them straight away when they are working on certain diseases. Also, the latest guideline, trial data, or patient context relevant to the disease which they are treating, that what type of actually clinical trials are going on. So, all that information can be the clinician or the doctor can get it at their table with very faster. So it is actually making sure the patient context is there without leaving the hospital or the surgery. So the agent add values where they can help in trial matching. So make sure that the agent screening patient record so that the eligibility criteria can be done faster. So instead of doing manually understanding the patient and then putting them in clinical trial, can be done with the agents. Then evidence synthesis, where the systematic review, which was taking months, can be now drafted in hours. So in the clinical trial, AI in clinical trial internship, we have got this systematic review platform as well, where you can design the systematic review. Then the safety monitoring, where continuous scanning of the ADRs can be done for safety monitoring. That is again part of the PEV in the clinical research setup. And documentation, making sure that the draft form, clinical PEV, and even regulatory submissions are done at that level, and the expert review can be done to take it in the final stage. So when we look now, the workflow of the day for a research team, it has been changed now due to this agentic AI, because the team can now, when they come on the morning, they can actually have the information about a project which has been scanned by the agent, updated the knowledge base, and flagged if there are any signals available in that project, and draft a summary. So that is done when you are actually come in the morning in the office and just taking your first copy. At that time, you already have the summary, and that is a you know uh, that is what actually the agentic AI can do. It is providing that information so that way the human, the researcher, can focus on the judgments and not actually keep on handling the literature and taking the information out. So this is where it has been changed. Now, while all these things, we are continuously every day, we have this point that is the risk and the governance. It can be about LLMs, it can be about the models, and it can be about AI in the healthcare and the drug discovery. You need to make sure that you are deploying the system, the autonomous system, in regulated healthcare environment. So it is going to have some risk, and that must be actively managed. You are not going to assume that it will go as it on its own. So one of the major risks which we are continuously every day talking about is the hallucination, because the it is a generative information model. So sometime with the original data, with the original information also, it can create hallucination. So you need to have that accuracy check. Data privacy and security is again a very important area which need to be taken into consideration, because when we are talking that the data is the main part of AI, trust building was the important part we discussed on the first lecture. Is again main area which need to be considered when we're looking at the risk and the assessment. Then the regulatory compliance that whenever you are utilizing AI and taking it further into the public domain, you are complying with the regulatory. And the last is the accountability and the oversight. So the who is accountable when something happens? So major of the time, if you look at the system, how it works, the companies are developing a tool which is utilized by the patient or the doctors. And with the, let's say for example, if doctors are using, they are going to utilize it and take it further in the which can be utilized for patients. Something happen in this process, who will be the accountable? And that's where actually the challenge is there with the AI, that if you're putting anything in the healthcare and in the drug discovery, there should be accountability with the information. So for the deployment, the principle for safety deployment is that keep the humans in the loop. So now also when we are looking at this project-based internship, we are not giving you directly a agentic AI and then directly you are designing a dashboard. You are in the middle to understand that whatever information you got for that project is critically evaluated and then it is taken further. So you are developing your critical thinking and scientific thinking using the AI tool and designing the prompt. Now we have taken out prompt designing problem out of it, so that way you will actually have the data. So every output, that is the data, must be cited its source, and I should have the log for the reasoning. So it should have a traceability in the document. So that way we can actually validate it. So monitoring performance can be done, so that way we can remove any biases if there are any biases in there. And that's why I said when you are using RAG also, you need to, that is the perplexity model if you are using, you need to make sure that the references which perplexity has given, you need to go and check, because perplexity sometimes give references from the website, and you shouldn't use website references in your research draft or article. So major thing is that building trust. So goal is not actually to replace the human expertise, but it is to actually use AI as a collaborator or assistant, which can be peer tirelessly, so that way we can actually utilize our expertise in the highly valued content that can be designing the protocol and evaluating the thing. So it is important part to actually utilize AI as a assistant or as a uh, co-collaborator. So the road ahead is that retrieval and autonomous coverage is now moving into a new era of scientific discovery, and we need to understand that what is happening. So at the moment, RAG is used as a co-pilot for standard R&D and D and even with the clinical team. But now, as we speak, it will be moving into a co-pilot process, that is the as a collaborator, as I said, assistant or as a collaborator or as a team member. Then it will be moving into multi-agent system architecture, where end-to-end discovery workflow. As I showed you, and I'm going to show at the end also, that how this actually multi-agent system will work. So there where the agentic AI with the RAG is going. But when we look at the long term of this collaboration and the working together of the RAG and the agentic AI, it is going to self-improve the lab running, which will be continuous and autonomous experiment. So if you look at, let's say for example, some of the instrument, let's say if you have a HPLC which have got automatic injecting system available, you can run the HPLC 24 hours, because the injections are taken automatically by the machine. and those types of machines are already available. With the AI, it is going to self-improve the lab, and it is going to be run. So you can understand that how much changes in the pharma, in the R&D, or in the healthcare will happen when the machines are being run by the AI in the continuous autonomous format. The experiments which were done in the day, now 24 hours experiment were already the pharma companies are scanning billions of compound in, in a day. Now it will be, so much speed and so much accuracy can be done with the help of this AI. So we are leading towards that in the long run. So in the key takeaway of this session with the RAG and agentic AI, the RAG ground AI is already a truth and it is in delivering the evidence base already. Agent is actually bringing autonomous because it can plan and execute the complex scientific tasks. So together they are going to accelerate this discovery while governance keep it safe. So naturally there will be human in the loop, but the future is augmented. The machines at the scale, humans in the command is coming, and the person who can use the AI, who can understand the AI is going to be a useful for person for healthcare, pharma in the drug discovery. So that's about the session about the uh, use of RAG and the agentic AI in the healthcare in the drug discovery. So if you have any question, you can put the question in the chat box. In the meantime, I will show you a couple of examples of both the RAG and the agentic AI. Okay, so first I will show you the tool of clinical multi-agent, and I have already showed you this, but just for because of the topic now. So this is the research intelligence where the agent again this is a combination of RAG and the agentic AI, where we have got literature agent, then the mechanism agent, clinical agent, safety agent. If there are any contraindications, that agent, hypothesis building agent, network pharmacology. Then when we are searching, instead of doing docking, can we get actually without docking the molecule? Validation intelligence and the clinical intelligence with output basically. So what these do, uh, so literature agent actually runs the PubMed retrieval. So when we run the query, that can be a project, that can be anything. At that time, it actually goes and search PubMed, pull extract, open access link, then reason over the whole corpus to find most cited mechanism, emerging target, and strong versus weak evidences. And why it matters? Without it, there is no evidence base. It turns scattered literature into a structured, queryable corpus that other agent build on. So once we got that, it moved to the next agent, it moved to the next agent. Okay, so this is how this tool work. So again, it is a multi-agent research intelligent platform of the solar, which we use for our day-to-day Then the second one is the now it is similar to the large language models, where it can actually create predictive drug medicinal intelligence. We have got three things here. So if you look, we got search, just the literature search. We got multiple agent and we got drag. So when you are doing the search, you need to provide your key, which is the API. You can have, you know, any specific API. But if you have a open router, then you can actually utilize any model. In this case, we are actually using open router, but we are using Atropic, that is the cloud model to run. And when you put any search, so let's say DNA damage, it is going to give you the so the router is now connecting to the cloud and it will give me the information about my query. So similar way it will work for the copilot, that is the multi-agent, and the knowledge, that is the RAG. So that is how this the another tool work, which is again part of the research platform. Um, so the first, so we started with this, and then the next version is the one which I showed you at the beginning. So you can see now it has given me the information about the DNA damage, and it was a just one run about DNA damage. But based on what we are doing, it actually connected it with the DNA damage response in oral cancer chemo prevention. So it is assuming, because we have already trained on the work which we are doing, it is putting that with connection with the oral cancer and how these proteins which has been identified are connecting with the oral cancer. So that's the second one. And again, the models which I'm showing you, because they are part of the uh, RAG and the Agentic AI, that's why I'm showing. These tools are not part of the project-based program. There are different tools which will be shared with you. And one more which I want to show to you is the actually a tool we developed for uh, doing the analysis of the wet lab data. Uh, so we are doing toxicity studies on uh, chicken eye. So we use chicken eye assay. Okay, so this is for IAC, that is the isolated chicken IAC toxicity studies, and this is again we have connected this with the AI. So basically, what you will need is the images. So I will just upload some of the images that we have got. So I will upload couple of them. So I can upload about 25. So minimum I need two and maximum 25 I can upload here. And when you say analyze image, it gives the analysis of the image. So in the step 2, you can see that it has analyzed the image, given us the information about the chicken eye. Simultaneously, it has given me the heat map visualization, and it has given me the quantitative visualization and predictive model analysis of the eye, which I have given to the model. And then sixth step, predictive capacity is given uh, about the raw data which I have given, and it also creates the downloadable PDF. So again, this is developed with the generative AI. The codes were generated with the generative AI, and then with the help of the again large language model using APIs, we have put that connected that with the AI, so that way it can actually give us the information which will be connecting to the raw data or the information which is needed for the analysis of this raw data. So these are the different ways that the large language models are used. We discuss about scientific prompting because that is where actually it all starts, because based on what actually we want to do. So in this case, we were doing chicken ISA. In the analysis, we were scoring them manually. But now we want to take it further. So we decided to go for the software. Image is there which can be utilized and you can actually do it. But connecting it with the the databases is giving you the information, more information. Still, you are still going to do it manually as well, the scoring. So you will have that information out of it. So that's how it works. So tomorrow's session will be on AI drug discovery, where we will be understanding how the AI drug discovery process work, uh, all from discovery, target identification to clinical, how actually things are being utilized with the help of the AI. That is what we are going to discuss. And then on Saturday, we will have demo of the tools which you are going to use in your project. So Saturday we will start again at 11 only. Half an hour will required for each tool. So predictive intelligence will start at 11 o'clock. Clinical will start at half 11, and pharmacovigilance will start at 12 o'clock. Normally it will take 15 to 20 minutes, but if there are any questions, we will continue. Project will be allocated and we will run one example, so that way you will find out that how actually you are going to utilize that tool, and what type of data is coming which will be utilized. I will show you um, one of the example as well, where the student in the internship has already performed. I also share the articles. Actually, I forgot to share that articles which are published of the project, so that way you will come to know that what information is coming out from the large language model when we are using the scientific prompts to use. Okay, so if there are any question, let me know. Otherwise, we will be ending the streaming of this session. You can always put the any question uh, in the comment box. So thank you for joining.